Good morning, Monroe. Good morning, UA 671. Thank you for your endorsement. You were one of the first endorsements I had. I appreciate it. Unions are backing me because I was a unionized steelworker for 31 years. So I do have a lot of great union endorsements. So let me go back just a little bit in history. What's led me to today? In 1967, in March, my dad took my mom to the hospital in a blizzard in Logansport, Indiana, and thus the journey to today began. I grew up in rural Indiana, helping my grandfather on his small farm. He would take my sister and me to the chicken coop, and we'd collect eggs while he'd wring chickens' necks for Sunday dinner. My father was a federal meat inspector, my mother was a registered nurse, and my father got transferred to southern Indiana when I was in the 2nd grade, so we moved 4 hours from our family. I grew up in a very small district, 350 people in the little town I grew up in. I had 30 kids graduate from my high school. I went to Indiana State University, where I was one of the only females in my curriculum, which was electronics technology back in the 80s. I've always chosen the hard path. Graduated from Indiana State, went to South Bend, Indiana, and worked for Bendix Aircraft Brake and Struts for 3 years. During that time, there was an ad in the newspaper for electricians and mechanics at a local steel mill that they built outside of South Bend, Indiana. I passed all their testing, thus I became a United Steelworker, a maintenance electrician on a galvanizing production line. So I was a steelworker in a dangerous industry, in a dangerous profession for 31 years. So yes, I do have a little bit of a spine of steel, right? During the last 15 years while I worked there, I was elected a union official. For one term, I was vice president. That's very rare to find a female on the executive board in a steel industry, in a steel mill. But I represented my workers very well. That's why they kept electing me. I was elected 4 times to our negotiating committee, the only female elected to our negotiating committee during that time, where I helped negotiate 4 contracts. And the reason I got involved, because there was only 45 women out of 450 women in the union, and the company they were ignoring the women in the facility. I was tired of it. In 2012, mind you, the ACA had already been passed. They were paying for Viagra, they weren't paying for birth control. I said, come on, we're 52% of the population, this is healthcare, let's get it paid for. So they started paying for birth control. In 2015, not that long ago, less than 10 years, they were paying for prostate exams as wellness, preventive wellness. They weren't paying for mammograms and pap smears. I said, this is basic health care, let's get this paid for. So they started paying for mammograms and pap smears. Women, this is women, folks, women. In 2022, we got the company to pay for 2 weeks of paid FMLA, that's paid family medical leave, for a parent around the birth or adoption of a child. That's fantastic, so our workers didn't have to use their hard-earned vacation when their spouse went to have a child, or unpaid leave. So we got 2 weeks of paid leave around the birth of a child or adoption. We got a domestic abuse policy, so they can't fire you when you have to deal with domestic violence. They increased their IVF treatment to $15,000 lifetime, so you can at least get through a full set of treatment IVF when you've decided you wanted to increase your family. Those are, oh, and the very last thing I did before I retired in 2023 was get a lactation pod in our facility for our new mothers who were coming back to work and pumping breast milk behind filing cabinets, which was also breaking the law. I don't know how many times the company was breaking law, and we made them correct it, so they were no longer breaking the law. So that's kind of lead me to where I am today, right? You see all these wonderful things I did. It did not help women in the facility. It was insurance. So it helped the wives and daughters of the men that worked in our facility. It was healthcare gains. We got pay increases. We got job security. We got health increases. We got pension increases for our retirees. Our retirees have retiree health care. That is why I am doing this today, right? I grew up in the middle class. that has treated me wonderfully. It's been able to let me do what I've done today. I'm a very young retiree. At 31 years, I retired from the steel mill. I want everybody to be able to retire young and enjoy their future, right, their retirement. The GOP wants us to basically drop dead at work, right? They want to up the age of Social Security to 69. You know, working in a steel mill, I'll tell you right now, you can't work till you're 69 because it's a hard job and it breaks your body down. And I can attest to that because I've known many people that I worked with that once they retire, guess what? They're dying of cancer. I understand it. Life is too short. Let's get retired and enjoy our retirement, our future, and our grandkids. So once I retired, I was going to work in the polls. I was going to be hired by Berrien County to be a poll worker. I decided I wanted to do something else instead, so I decided to run for U.S. House of Representatives. You know why? Because for the last 2 years, my congressman has done absolutely nothing for the working people in this district. This district is huge. A lot of people don't know me who I am because I've been a worker for 31 years, not a politician. I've stood in your shoes for 31 years, right? I've lived paycheck to paycheck. The union was the best thing that ever happened to me. It put more money in my pocket. It let me save. I can retire. I can take our kids to Disney World. We could go on vacation. We could go out and eat dinner. We could go to the movies. That just benefits your community because the more people have in their pocket, the more they can save, the more they can spend. That just helps everybody. That helps small businesses. That helps everybody in the community. So what I want to do, right? I want to protect health care. I got into this race because they took my rights away from me, not just me. They took my rights, they took the rights away from everybody because health care is very important. You need to be able to make your own decisions with your health care provider without government involvement. And this Dobbs, this just didn't just hurt women, it hurt families, it hurt men, it hurt mothers, it hurt fathers, it hurt children. So that's number one. We need to restore our health care freedoms. We need to protect Social Security and Medicare. Let's not privatize it. Let's not put it on the stock market and gamble it away like I'm going down to the casino. We're going to protect it. We're going to make sure the wealthiest pay their fair share so it's fully funded, so it's there for us in the future because we've paid into it our entire working lives. It's a benefit the government has guaranteed we're going to get, and we need to make sure we get it when we retire so we can retire with dignity. What else? Healthcare. Oh, economy, right? That's what I hear. I've knocked doors in every 10 counties, and that's economy, but it's food, gas, and housing, right? And what have we learned here recently? That the grocery industry has been colluding to keep grocery prices high. They said it in front of Congress a couple of months ago, so hopefully now we'll start to see food prices coming down. That's what we need. We need to put some guardrails around this price gouging and corporate greed because, come on, how much is enough, right? What are you going to do with $1 billion? Buy another yacht? Buy another airplane? You know, we need to get that money back into workers' pockets. We need to get back into the communities. That's where it needs to go. So, my opponent, everybody knows, Tim Walberg, right? He's terrible. He's an insurrectionist. He did not vote to certify the 2020 election. He voted against it. He colluded to help the fake electors in Michigan. It's terrible. Everybody has seen the viral video that went around about his remarks about dropping a nuclear bomb on Gaza. Let's get it over quick like Nagasaki and Hiroshima. He's also gone to Uganda after they passed a law making LGBTQI people illegal. And what's the punishment? Imprisonment or execution. We have a sitting representative who says it's okay to kill people just because you don't like them. Come on, what is wrong with that? So, you need to send me to Washington. We need to retire Tim Walberg because he is just an awful human being, right? And this district is really rural. I need your help to go knock doors, to get my name out, because like I said, I'm not a career politician. People don't know who I am. It's a huge district, but I've grown up in your shoes. I grew up on a farm. I live in a rural community still to this day, and I've made Michigan my home for 28 years. I love the state, I love my community, and I love Monroe. They keep inviting me back because when I come over here, I feel like home because there's a lot of union people here, and I am a union person. I'm an activist. I've stood on picket lines. I've shut Pittsburgh down during lunch hour. Let's go out there. Our steel workers, we stand up, we fight back, right? So everybody, let's stand up. Get a little exercise going, right? Okay, repeat after me. Stand up, fight back. Stand up,